My topic today.
Great.
Thank you for coming. My topic today is the danger of religious eradication based on public opinion manipulation. The official name of our church is Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. However, I think you are familiar with the former name, Unification Church. So, in my presentation, I used the abbreviation of a former name, UC. On July 8, 2022, former Prime Minister Abe was assassinated. The suspect claimed his motive was his mother's donation to the UC 2 decades earlier, which has led to the collapse of his family. He also resented Abe for sending a video message to UPF, an affiliated organization of the UC. But can such an excuse for murder rarely be accepted? Nevertheless, anti-UC lawyers network immediately took advantage of this incident to launch attacks on the UC. Let me explain the basic stance of the major media in Japan. Japan's major media outlets are in general left-leaning. They tend to be hostile toward conservative politicians, such as former Prime Minister Abe. In fact, just as the mainstream media in the United States strongly opposed President Trump, the Japanese major media consistently opposed Prime Minister Abe. Minority religions also became convenient targets for media attacks, since criticizing cults was a way to boost ratings. Because the UC and its affiliated organizations took an anti-communist stance and actively campaigned for the enactment of an anti-spy law, the media were particularly eager to criticize the UC. Knowing the tendencies of the media, the anti-UC lawyers network exploited the Abe incident to attack the UC, creating the false impression against UC. They categorically labeled the UC as a great evil and denounced it as a cause of Abe's assassination, gave the impression that the UC was still causing massive economic damage nationwide. They spread propaganda that the UC was a dangerous cult, that all UC members were victims under mind control, and that all donation constituted victimization. Their manipulation of public opinion succeeded, and Japanese society came to be dominated by the perception that the UC was nothing less than a heinous criminal organization. In Japan, being an island nation, society places strong pressure on individuals to conform. During World War II, anyone who opposed the war was condemned as unpatriotic. Likewise, after the Abe incident, members of the Diet who attended UC-related events or even sent a single congratulatory message were harshly criticized in the media and pressured to issue apologies. Under this sustained campaign, Prime Minister Kishida finally declared that the Liberal Democratic Party will cut ties with the UC. Later, we found a table published on the website of the Consumer Affairs Agency, comparing the number of consultations received by consumer centers concerning the UC with the total number of consultations. According to this data, in June 2022, just before the Abe incident, consultations concerning the UC accounted for merely 0.003% of the total. This bar chart compares the number of consultations handled by consumer centers regarding Japanese major new religious groups, including the UC. Our lawyer recently researched it, and according to it, in 2021, the year before the Abe assassination incident, the number of consultations concerning the UC was 27, whereas Japan's largest new religious group accounted for 67 cases, more than double as many as the UC. The UC was only third or fourth among them. Later, a periodical was found in which a major lawyer of anti-UC network stated the number of consultations related to the UC has declined. He says they were struggling, being overwhelmed with consultations from small and familiar groups rather than UC-related consultations. The fact that only the UC became the target of attacks can be explained by nothing other than political motives. In principle, when the government finds the decision was wrong, it should correct its course. However, like a large object, such as a train, once begins to move, cannot stop easily. The government didn't stop. In October 2022, the government abruptly changed its interpretation of the Religious Corporations Act over one night, declaring that even civil torts could constitute grounds for dissolution. The government enacted new laws and policies, new law to restrict solicitation of donation, new law to promote claims against the UC, governmental decision on anti-UC instruction in school. Finally, October 13, 2023, the government filed lawsuits seeking the dissolution of the UC. They even submitted fabricated evidence to the court instead of giving up the lawsuit. In court, the UC exposed the fabrication of the evidence. Normally, the courts should have dismissed the dissolution petition. Instead, it recognized the grounds for dissolution based merely on speculation that there must be unknown victims, while it recognized that there were few actual civil cases. Thus, they valued false impression over facts. The manipulation of public opinion also reached local governments. Several local assemblies adopted resolutions declaring cutting ties with the UC. In Fukuoka City, the government decided not to allow UC and its related groups to rent public facilities. As a result, the UC could no longer hold Christmas gatherings, and even peaceful marches were obstructed. In Shimane Prefecture, support for volunteer activities by UC members was terminated. In fact, local authorities were so far as to order the removal of flowers planted by children as part of the volunteer work. In Yamaguchi Prefecture, UC members were refused to eat at a restaurant. When the UC or its affiliated organization filed defamation lawsuits to restore their honor, the courts dismissed them all. One of the abnormal cases was a UC member, Mr. Goto's case. He had been a victim of deprogramming for 12 years and 5 months, and he sued the deprogrammers. In 2014, the UN recommended that Japan act against deprogramming during his case. As a result, he ultimately won his case at the Supreme Court in 2015. However, after Abe assassination case, an anti-UC journalist announced in a TV program that Mr. Goto had simply been a social withdrawer, which meant he won the deprogramming case by false claim. Mr. Goto filed a defamation lawsuit. At the first instance, he won, but at the second instance, the court reversed the ruling based on the testimonies of the very defendants of the deprogramming case. It can be said that Japan as a whole is completely dominated by false impressions. This problem has even influenced actions in a neighboring country under the prevailing social climate that cults must not be allowed to influence politics. Even Mrs. Hak-jae Moon, the co-founder of the UC, was arrested in Korea. Persecuting people who hold a certain faith based solely on fabricated impression is like the Holocaust. We sincerely request the protection of our human rights from the international community. Thank you for your attention.